Alright, so I pretty recently got a 4K monitor and hooked it up to my rig, and I thought I'd go over the pros and cons of 4K gaming. Basically the stuff I wish I would have known going into the experience. And we're going to start off with the cons and then we'll round things off with the pros. I generally like to start off with the bad news first and then end on something more lighthearted. First off, you're going to need a pretty good rig to play games at 4K. Even a single GTX Titan X is not going to cut it here if you want to max out recent releases at 4K with 60 frames a second. You're probably going to need two of these suckers in SLI. Now I'm saying this based off some of the recent Rise of Tomb Raider benchmarks. A single GTX Titan X cannot run this game at 60 frames at 4K with max settings. It's just not possible right now. So if you want a rig that's going to be even slightly future-proof, you're going to end up dropping $2,400, and this is just in the GPU department. This is a lot of money, well, for me anyways. But that's not the end of the technology you'll need. You'll also need to get a good 4K monitor. Granted, this won't cost as much as the GPUs, depending on which monitor you get, but you can probably get a pretty decent one for $400, $500, depending on the specs of the monitor. It's also important to remember this technology is getting cheaper every year, so the longer you wait, the better price you're going to get. However, we're all kind of impatient, and when we see like really new jaw-dropping graphics, we want it now. So I understand. 4K basically looks amazing. Games are so crisp, I almost couldn't even take everything in when I first turned it on. It basically breathes new life into old games if you're into playing old games, and it makes new games look just stunning. And here we come to one of the major pros. You actually don't need to drop a ton of money. You can get a mid-range graphics card, $300 to $400, and still play older games and less graphically intensive games at 4K. For instance, I'm playing Smite with an R9 390 maxed out at 4K, 60 frames a second. Same deal with Mirror's Edge. These older games, they work great in 4K, and you can max them out and get that smooth 60 frames a second. Same with, say, Spiral Knights, a less graphically intensive MMO. And even Tomb Raider, the 2013 version, I'm able to get, say, 45 to 50 frames a second and pretty much max out the game. Even the new Paladins beta, not really that graphically intensive. This is a first-person shooter, and I'm able to get a pretty solid 60 frames a second. Less graphically intensive games like the recently released Unravel, beautiful game, and I can run it at 4K 55 to 60 frames a second. So, in summary, you really don't need to spend thousands of dollars on a rig to play at 4K. You do if you want to max out current graphically intensive titles at 4K with 60 frames a second. However, if you're willing to play older games and play newer games at lower settings, you can still enjoy the 4K experience. Now, if you're looking for any other 4K related news or any other gaming/tech information, I recently redesigned my PressingX website, and as you can see here, I kind of have some articles on 4K, which I'll link in the description. Also a link to the website in general in the description, and just kind of getting things kicked off right now. As you can see, I don't have really that many comments, and I'd really appreciate some feedback. So thanks for watching this video, and have a great day.